Good morning again. It's Pastor Mark McDonald with First United Methodist Church of Batesville, joining you with another devotional starter in Experiencing God. We're in week 3, day 4 today, and I am delighted to be with you. Today's lesson is a fun one as well. It's more of a workbook lesson. You're going to enjoy if you like doing workbook and really answering some questions, checking some boxes, and trying to pull the picture together. This is it. But the basic message for today is a very simple one. And the image that popped in my mind as I was working through this workbook and this day is the image of a toddler inside of a shopping store, which we may not get to very much anymore, but you remember the times when there's somebody, a young child, sometimes they're a little older, usually they're younger, and they pitch a fit. They throw a tantrum because they don't get what they want or they want it now. And you can watch the way that parents interact with children when they throw a tantrum, when they really lose it and they start screaming, and it's all about me, mine, what I want, and they want what they want and they want it now. And I think of that because parents have lots of different ways of responding to that. One is, of course, in anger, which is not a really helpful way. It just perpetuates that kind of fight. But then the other one are the parents that really seem to have a calmness that comes over them. So the kids pitch a fit and they just have a calmness. Maybe they remove them. They say, okay, we're not going to be here anymore, and they just leave the store. Some of them just ignore them and let that fit go on through. I think of that image because the lesson today is about how God initiates this relationship that we long for. God initiates the loving relationship with us. We don't. We're created by God. We're not the ones that say, hey, God, I'm ready to be in relationship with you now. But God is always pursuing that relationship with us. And so today's lesson is a lot about learning how to pay attention to what God is initiating with you right now. Most of you know I have a dog named Finnegan that has spent time growing up in the middle of COVID. So he comes to work with me a lot of times at church, and he's not used to people being in the church, which is odd because this church is a very active church. But as he's grown up, one of the things that you know if you've had a dog is he's super attentive when I ask for his attention. And if I have a treat in my hand or if he's watching for me, he will lock on to me. If I have a toy in my hand, he'll lock onto that. He'll stare and wait for me to say, now, take it, get it, ready, something like that. He has this locked on gaze, this attentiveness, waiting for me to say, now, do this, sit, shake, whatever it may be. I can also picture that as opposed to the toddler who says, "Hey, mine, mine, now, now." We need that kind of attitude like Finn has with me sometimes, or most of the time. He just locks onto. We need to lock onto God and wait for God's initiative. And to do that, we have to listen. We have to read the scriptures, search the scriptures, ask what God is saying to us in all these different ways, through the scriptures, through the experience, through all the things, the way that God speaks to us today. So today, as you read through this lesson, I hope you'll picture one of those two things. We can be like the toddler that's always crying and fussing and throwing a tantrum, or we can be like the dog that's waiting attentively for somebody to say, here's what I want you to do next. And when we approach our spiritual life like that, knowing that God is wanting to initiate something, it's a matter of locking on to God and understanding what God is saying to us so that we're ready for when God fully initiates. Have a blessed day and be a blessing.